Good morning and welcome again to Summit. It's a beautiful Monday morning and we are real glad to be with you on another edition of the program. I am Jumoke Michaels and Banji is here. Banji, good morning.
Jumoke, good morning.
Good to be here again.
Great to be here, doing what we know how to do best. And good morning, everyone. My name is Banji Busari. The discussion about the Kogi and Bayelsa elections, the gubernatorial elections, have continued. People are actually discussing the aftermath, particularly the death of somebody, woman leader in Kogi, who the president has actually instructed a very, very detailed investigation about her death, circumstances leading to her death, and that the culprits must actually be brought to book. That's quite commendable because the election must not be a do or die affair, particularly post-elections when winners have emerged. Exactly. And they sometimes somehow you want to worry, you want to wonder, why would they go after an innocent person's life?
After winning an election, everyone should at least go home and rest. And,
it's curious.
Let things be.
In any case, we are here, and Juma could actually tell you.
Yes, today on the program we are talking about we are praising the situation, arrangement, results issues in Nigeria because there seem to be almost no reports on kidnappings. I didn't say there is not. I say almost no, compared to how it used to be. You know, kidnappings and insecurity, killings all around Nigeria. So we want to look at that issue this morning to know that is it that it has abated, or there's less reportage on these killings, or that the army is actually on top of the situation and they have already won, and then the territories that they said were in the arms of the Boko Haram, have they been taken back? You know, so many questions around
so many questions, Benjamin. One thing that we cannot actually take away from the military is the fact that in the recent time, particularly in the last 2 weeks, there have been declarations of surrender by those who used to be Boko Haramists, insurgents, and the police, the army seems to be integrating, rehabilitating them for whatever purpose. That shows a sign of maybe temporary victory or whatever over the insurgents. So, but then that may not be enough to conclude whether we have actually won or we are on the way to winning the insurgency war. Okay. It's for us to actually put it at the doorstep.
All right, so that's the thrust of our discussion this morning. And like we always do, would like you to be a part of our discussion by participating through sending an SMS to us on the program, and then we'll read out your comment. But before we go into that discussion, we'll be taking a look at the achievements of the chairman of the Ojokoro LCDA in the person of Honorable Ahmed Tijani. Once again,
particularly in the education sector.
Okay, today. Education sector today.
Yeah, okay, since he took over about 2 years ago, we want to actually capture, kind of highlight of what he has done in the area of education. So that's what we'll be showcasing.
All right, so last week we had something on sports.
Earlier week we actually focused on environment, his achievements in the area of environment, particularly at the peak of the rainy season. Of course, the rainy season is still here. You can never tell whether it will still rain heavily in the month of December. But it's on top of the job, and that's our job, to report it. What is me actually.
All right, so today we are going to watch his achievements in the area of education. So I want you to sit back and just enjoy this package, and then when we return, we'll have our discussion. Stay with us. Provision of functional and quality education has been the focus of the administration of Honorable Hamed Idowu Tijani, Chairman Ojokoro LCDA. Since assumption of office 2 years ago, it's on record that Honorable Hamed Tijani has facilitated construction of school buildings and renovation of old school buildings. The students in the public schools at both primary and secondary schools have benefited from periodic distribution of educational materials, courtesy the chairman of the local council.
By the time we came in, I have the able supervisor that headed that particular department in person of the vice chairman of the local government. He quickly swung into action by going around all the schools, public primary schools in the local government, and himself and his team, they came up with a report in which we've started working on. As of today, we've done the rehabilitation on some schools, particularly Bileyi Primary School 1 and 2. We have done all what you can call rehabilitation in that school. And not only that, we did same at New Okoba Primary School as well, while the work is ongoing in some others. We did not stop at that. We have what we call a school called Akinyele Junior Secondary School, and the complaint is that the stretch of the distance covered by the students of that place is much, and because of that one, it exposes them to some dangers, auto crash and what have you. And because of that one, in conjunction with the Community Development Committee, the CDC of this local government, we purchased a particular parcel of land which is very close, is direct opposite the Akinyele Junior Secondary School, for the construction of senior secondary school there. And we did not only purchase, we did the fencing of that place in anticipation that very soon the Ministry of Education will take it up, and we've written to the state in that respect. Not only that, at the period of our electioneering campaign, we made a promise that our pupils in the primary schools will be providing them with the writing materials at the inception of their school calendar. And to God be the glory that we have been able to be fulfilling that promise. We have made it to be a promise made, a promise kept. Not only that, often when we have participated in the spelling bee, anti-cultism, and which we believe that it sharpened the life of these our youths. And we did not stop at that. We've distributed the 48 books to all our public primary schools. And we've been with the teachers, particularly the education secretary and the team. We've always been in touch with ourselves. Not only that, because we believe so much in the future of our children, the local government has made it part of its program that on annual basis we've been giving out the JAM form and the GC forms to the indigenous and the residents of this local government. And we don't just only give out the forms, we do the training for them as well. And out of all this that we have done in the time past, we have seen many of them that has come back to come and appreciate us because they have got their admission at one time or the other. So these are just part of the things that we have done in the educational sector. This is a local government that we believe so much in the youth because we know that they are the future leaders of this nation. And for that reason, the education department always goes around there to see if there's any problem of such, and in case there's any problem, we have always been trying as much as possible to make sure that we send such children back to school. And not only that, the department has been involving in series of activities with the schools in order to assist them. No time that they come up for any form of assistance that the local government has never been acted to it.
All right, welcome back. That's the educational achievement of Honorable Ahmed Tijani Ojokoro LCD. You join us every week for a package on what he's doing in that local government. All right, going straight into our discussion this morning, which we title Appraisal of Security Arrangements Results. Joining us this morning, we have Mr. Gbolaoba, a political analyst. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. Always a pleasure to be on your side.
Thank God that it's a privilege having you, because I know the next minute you are boarded plane to either Dubai or UK.
I'm not that.
Always on the move.
I'm not that of an itinerant person, but look at the port calling. Somebody just returned from America.
Okay, so we're looking at the security architecture of the military, particularly, and the police in this country. We've had so much security challenges over time. Kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, largely. But then in the last couple of months, our observation, we want to get your opinion, particularly in the last couple of weeks. You know the challenges we had with Mrs. Olakunrin's death. That's the kidnapping and all that. The Southwest governors actually came together and convoked a security summit. Several agencies were also concerned and actions were taken. Now, last week, the military came out and said about over 500 former insurgents have actually come out and declared, surrendered to Nigerian army, showing that they are no longer on the path of the Boko Haram. Now, largely looking at it holistically, would you say summation of all this suggests or point to the fact that we are having a kind of what you may call a kind of relief, or maybe a win over those security challenges that we've had over time?
We are in a state of war. And in a state of war, many battles are fought. And the victory of a particular battle does not necessarily say that the war has been won. We must commend the armed services, the Army, the Air Force, and indeed the Navy, that in recent times we seem to be having a positive development in the war situation that we have found ourselves in. I must go the extra mile by also praising the paramilitary agencies, especially the customs, because you will suddenly notice that there is a dint of a coincidence between when the borders have been technically partially closed and the relative peace we seem to be having now. I am one who believes that with some of the neighbors that Nigeria has, you don't need an enemy than some of the neighbors we have. they are not only economically exploitative of our humongous market, indeed, many of the security ravages afflicting us in the backdrop of the magnitude of reduction in some of the unfortunate developments that have defined the insurgency, I am proceeding with a degree of conceit that our neighbors have not helped matters as regards some dangerous elements using their territories to afflict violence, carnage, destruction upon our country. How come that suddenly after the closure of the borders, we're now having this dramatic reduction? So that's why I'm extending the gratitude to the paramilitary agencies, indeed the customs, because nobody who is God-fearing can in no way, shape or form deny the fact that in recent times, in the last couple of weeks, we have had seemingly dramatic reductions in some of these unfortunate incidents.
Are you attributing the success recorded in these recent times largely to the border closure?
One of the factors that cannot be discountenanced by any logically minded analyst or appraiser of our relatively positive situation now. It cannot be discounted. Indeed, it is enough reason for anybody to want to support the decision of the government, in so much as initially I detested it. Initially, I was actually outside the borders of Nigeria when it was initiated. I felt the government was too knee-jerk about it. I felt that in the typical mannerism of this government, it was not properly thought through. And I was asking myself, where is the sustainability factor if eventually we open the borders? When I decided to do a bit of research, I came to the conclusion that the border closure ought to have been adopted as a policy of government to effect a change, a positive change in the attitudes of our neighbors as far back as 15 years ago. Let me give you a typical example. My brother is wearing a suit. I am sure that it is very likely that this suit was imported into Nigeria. We have a common regional tariff. If this suit was imported into Nigeria, 35% tariff. 35% tariff means that if you are landing the container that brought this suit, if you are landing it at any of the ports of Nigeria, you only pay 35% tariff. However, if you are landing the container in Cotonou or any other regional ports, you will not only pay 35% tariff, but because ultimately this suit is destined for the Nigerian market, the local custom authorities there will charge extra 2%. Now, if you add the extra 2% to the 35%, it shows that if this suit is truly to be sold in Nigeria, you would have gained a competitive advantage by landing the container in any of the ports of Nigeria. Okay. Apart from that, the ECOWAS treaty says that even when that extra 2% has been charged at the port of the neighboring country, the container must not be allowed to be opened in that jurisdiction. Indeed, the operatives of the local customs authorities must escort the container armed to the point where it is handed to the Nigerian authorities, the Nigerian customs. You know what all our neighbors have done? One of the most prosperous businesses on the border points of Nigeria now, especially the land border points of Nigeria, is warehousing business. They will allow, against ECOWAS treaty, they would allow the importers to take those containers to those warehouses. They will open, against treaty agreements, they will open those containers, repackage it only in a cellophane paper made in Benin Republic, and they will call it made in Benin, and bring it into Nigeria as local production. My brother, that is not only bad for the Nigerian economy, it's actually on the long run bad for the Beninois economy, because what the treaty allows is that if this suit were to be made in the Republic of Benin, jobs will be created for Beninois. Abi? The local GDP will rise, and Nigeria, being a neighboring big market, can also service sustainable economic activities in their country. But they thought, using rice as the example, Benin brings in the volume of rice that the population of Benin, if multiplied 10 times, cannot eat.
The scenario you have painted, sir, is that of economic sabotage.
And I'm also telling you, that given the coins, you people asked me a question that there seemed to be a relative degree of peace. I said, just do a cursory review of when suddenly the peace started manifesting at this magnitude and this level of peace relative to when the borders were open. If lawyers, I didn't quite finish my law school in England, but lawyers have a Latin saying, ipso facto loquitur, the fact speaks for itself.
Okay, I know that we can hardly divorce economic sabotage from crime. I mean, it's a crime on its own, but we can hardly divorce it from the security challenges that we are currently experiencing. Because
criminal elements need the oxygen of illicit funds to buy ammunitions, sustain their camps, and when economic activities are allowed to be conducted outside the purview of governmental accountability, you can finish the rest.
Okay, now let's come inside. I mean, the border, you've spoken so much about border, the sabotage and all that. But can you also say the same? What can we actually trace or actually point at as the root cause or the factors helping the military to gain the, to have the kind of the surrender, you may call it, from the Boko Haramists in the last couple of weeks? What's responsible for the upskill of the large army of Boko Haramists who have actually surrendered to the army?
I don't want to pretend to be a military specialist or strategist. I just want to believe that the factors are quite broad spread. One of the factors could be the fact that the military, and I mean the armed services, seems to be upping its game, especially in the area of air combat, especially the Air Force. We've seen in recent times reportage of the Air Force strafing eastward camps, strafing bandits camps in the northwest. We've seen also some of the methodologies I may not agree with. We've seen gubernatorial characters from Nigeria literally entering into dialogues and a kind of agreements with criminal elements like the bandits, and in some respects, paying them off. Plethora of factors. We cannot quite exhaust the list if we were to be specifically itemizing them, but plethora of factors. But having said that, like you and your colleague rightly posited from the get-go of this program, or this episode of the program, the seeming or relative peace cannot be discountenanced by any fair-minded analyst or appraiser of the war situation.
All right, there's still more to talk on this issue, but we would like to take a quick break, and then when we return, we'll continue the discussion. But meanwhile, I want to encourage you to please begin to send in your comments, and well, whatever you think on this issue, send it to us here in the studio, and we'll read it out on the program. Send us an SMS, and we'll read it out. We'll be right back.
I just want your papers, please.
Sir.
Salary don't enter. Yes, so. And Monday never even reach sef. Na salary plenty, oh. No wonder I no gree collect Roger from my hand. Shut up, sir. I'm here to bail my younger brother.
Happen.
With good laws,
proper funding,
Training.
and cooperation.
If it happen.
Well, thanks for still being there. We still have Mr. Bolauba here with us in the studio. All right, I want to ask one question. I think one other issue around this supposed peace we have in the Northeast and the Northwest is the fact that there are still also so many others in the army, let me call it captivity, who they say are not really Boko Haram members. You know, when they raid, when they raid a particular place, you know, they just pack people in their numbers like that and then take them to their barracks. And we have people say that there are so many of them who are not actually Boko Haram members, but they are raided along with other people. And we have the mothers and the wives crying out to the federal government that help us intervene in this issue. The army have our husbands and our sons, and we want them released. How do you think this particular issue can be handled with this situation?
Any reasonable force on the face of the earth, indeed any reasonable government on the face of the earth, when caught in that circumstance, would speedily subject itself to a form of accountability. We are talking of human beings there. We're not talking of chickens. And because we're talking of human beings, and these people are alleged to be in their detention, it behoves the armed services, indeed the federal government, to make sure that every character in detention with any of the armed services is accounted for, and credible evidence for that person's detention be presented to a well-constituted panel of inquirers, or indeed legal authorities, competent bodies of legal, in our legal system, to assert the reason why that person should be further kept in detention against the constitutional provision that establishes the right to liberty.
These are poor people.
Living
in rural areas.
You are going on sentiments now.
No, I'm not going on sentiments. I'm looking at the topographical level of these people.
It does not behove those people to do the protestation. It behoves people like you and I and those who are watching this program today to raise our voices and say, because it is just logical, that if it happens to one, it will ultimately happen to all. So let's leave the victims out of it. Those of us who are not victims yet must raise our voices and make sure that in a democracy where we live in, the sanctity of human liberty is respected. So if anybody is watching now, for every day spent in the alleged detention of those people, you are guilty as Bella Abba is guilty.
Okay, let's move to the domain, that's the area of media now. We know that since the insurgency was started, both camps, the military and the insurgents, have actually deployed media to fight the war. Sometimes it goes beyond the battlefield. Now, of recent, the Chief of Army Staff came out and said the army seems to be winning the media war against the Boko Harams, that the Boko Harams at a stage almost dominated because they were able to infiltrate the mainstream and the social media, mainstream media and the social media, giving an impression that they had upper hand in the war. So there has been a kind of a ding-dong affair. This time is the military that's having upper hand in the media. At other time is the Boko Haram. What's your assessment of, is it that this relative peace we're actually claiming is as a result of the victory of the army in the mainstream media and social media? So what's the reality of that?
Your question has answered itself. If the media seems now to be reporting the situation of the war somewhat positively in favor of the armed services, it shows that the media is unbiased. It shows that it's a vindication of the media that when the media was actually reporting the situation, when the armed services were on the downside, it shows they were also honest. It shows that the media had no motive against the armed services. How come? So the editors, senior producers, and respected presenters like yourself, suddenly we're doing a Pauline experience to Damascus, and suddenly a light shone, and you saw, you became blind, and suddenly you had a turnaround in your heart? Just a question. You see, you people find it easy to question others. I gave you a rhetorical presentation. The media has always been consistent, even the so-called social media. And I will not sit here and explain away the fact that there are some characters who deliberately use social media for negative and mischievous purpose. And there are enough extant laws to deal with those characters. But at this juncture, I am feeling very satisfied as a Nigerian who also rightfully criticized the military in the way they conducted themselves on those occasions, and their incompetence precipitated wastage not only in material but in the valuable lives of many of our heroes. You must remember that ours is a soldiery that is likely a voluntary, a volunteers army. Many of the people who have died in that war front opted. Many will say, some will say, but it was unemployment that probably led them to it. But they volunteered to defend your liberty and my liberty. Yeah. But leadership, military and political, led to their wastage. I'm sitting here now thinking is a bit too much, a bit too patronizing of the Chief of Army Staff to have made that remark, because any logically minded human being would know that if the media seems to be aligning with the fact as we speak that the situation is turning around positively in favor of Nigeria, when they were reporting the truth, then they were speaking to the truth. Any other questions, sir?
Okay, let me take it.
All right, I would like to say that you can begin to send us your messages, send us an SMS on what you think on this issue of the subsiding of the
Would you say
The relative-
supposed,
No,
yes,
don't use supposed. Relative.
Okay, relative.
Relative.
Okay.
If you say supposed,
Maybe facts have not emerged.
maybe. That's why we said
Facts have
relative.
not emerged.
But let's play the media, let's play the black media card that the Chief of Army Staff is alleging against.
All right, so you can just begin to send us your SMS right now. Don't forget to include your name and location of where you are, and then we'll read out your message on the program. But please make it snappy before we end the program today.
You recall the case of Mr. Olakunrin, the late Mr. Olakunrin that I referred to earlier on. As at that period, virtually almost every week, you had it reported that people were kidnapped in the Southwest. The Southwest governors actually came and convoked a summit. But of course, the outcome was not made known to the public, was not made public.
Oh, it's quite known. It's quite known. Maybe you didn't follow it.
The summit was actually successful with this relative peace in the Southwest, for instance.
The summit ultimately led to the formation of Operation Amotekun, which can be translated to Operation Tiger in Yoruba, because the Southwest governors decided to give it a title that is consistent with the widely spoken language in the geopolitical zone. Operation Amotekun. Operation Amotekun has also led to the deployment of some technological contraptions like drones, with the special permission that the governors got from the National Security Advisor and the presidency. So that is another factor that could be added to the long list of factors. And that also speaks to the fact that when you allow command and control against an enemy to be devolved down the chain of strata of governance, you are likely going to take, it's like the enemy is now fighting against Gorgon Medusa. Gorgon Medusa has many strands of hair, but all the strands of hair are viperous snakes. Before, when we were running the fight against the insurgents as a monolithic, one size fits all, Nigerian armed services alone. But when we came downwards to the Southwest and to the Southeast, even the governors of the South and the Southeast are also trying to replicate a sub-regional element that will contain these mischievous characters. Look, that is another vindication of the urgent need for restructuring and devolution, especially at the level, because at a point, Amotekun had to enforce the decisions reached by the security strategists counseling the governors on Amotekun. They had to write to the president to get past certain permissions to use some sophisticated contraptions to monitor these guys. So you see that devolution will work.
So how sustainable are all these arrangements?
That is why we have to legitimize some of the results in law. Allow for restructuring as one of the examples. Allow for the... I cannot be having cold in Mushin and you tell me that the person that will solve that cold that I'm having in Mushin is somewhere in Abuja. I'm not teaching you now.
Tell them you're in English.
Somebody is slapping you in Ikeja. And it's going to be a chain of command that will first go from that Ikeja, DPO, to the Commissioner of Police, to the Divisional Assistant Commissioner of Police, to the Deputy Commissioner of Police, to the Commissioner of Police, to Abuja, and come back through that, rigorous and rather cumbersome chain before.
Now I get the picture.
You have the inputs there?
No, people are calling, and what I asked for is an SMS, and people are just calling. But like I said, it's just an SMS we want, not a call. Please, just send an SMS, and I will read.
You said earlier that the success of the relative peace could actually be linked to the border closure. Now, people are alleging that in the northern part of the country, the borders are not so much closed the way they are in the southwest. Would you then say, if there's a kind of a temporary respite, as in from the insurgents, would you say the border has contributed anything to it?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question, and I will take you to a fact actually spoken by a relation, a blood relation of President Muhammadu Buhari. The incumbent member of the House of Representatives from Daura, many may not know, is actually related to the president. And he said on one occasion, because of the fact that the border closure had been negatively affecting his people, he said he was compelled to monitor the nocturnal enforcement of the border closure, and he discovered that there were breaches in the enforcement. He said people were paying the customs and were using vehicular this thing to breach it at night. It speaks to the fact that what used to be an easy passage has now been restricted somewhat enough to the point where, and I wouldn't suppose even in the southwest, that if you really do a very investigative journalistic this thing, you will not see. I'm not alleging, I'm just saying.
Then you have the facts.
No, I'm not an investigative journalist.
You don't have the facts.
I'm just an analyst. But I'm conceited enough, intellectually conceited enough to put it on the table that if somebody were to subject the so-called enforcement of the border closure, even in the south, to a forensic, journalistic, investigative examination, you will see a heavy custom. Is it a Nigerian custom? Okay, so I'm basically letting you know that it may not be El Dorado yet, but there's a modicum of
there's a little bit of hope
as we
on the horizon.
I may not say a little bit of hope because I don't know how this can be sustained beyond when it is officially lifted. There is a scheduled meeting. Today is 20. What's today's date?
Today's 25th.
Fantastic. There's a scheduled multilateral regional meeting between Nigeria, Benin Republic, Niger, and one other country today, 25th. What becomes what that meeting brings will instruct whether I believe there is hope. But at this juncture, let me be circumspect enough to say, wait.
Let me just read this message. It says, "Good day. Hate speech can come as a result of bad governance. Senate should only make corruption, kidnapping, death sentence." That's Wale from Agbado here in Lagos.
Seems to be taken away from the interagency cooperation.
But I don't quite disagree with Wale, because if you can go to another jurisdiction and copy the hate speech law there, and you may as well do well to copy the anti-corruption law, because there are fantastic anti-corruption law in Singapore too. You can copy the anti-corruption law in China, where officials of state are literally subjected to firing squad.
Because we do not have the time any longer. The interagency.
No, that was just a diversion.
The interagency amongst the security forces in the country, the interagency cooperation, what's your advice to them as we go to?
I cannot say we have mastered it yet. I was 4 days ago in Abuja. A company in which I'm a director and another company partnering held a security summit, and all the security agencies of government, the Army, the Air Force, Navy was not there, the Army, the Air Force, DSS, military, the police, the customs, they all came to that summit. In fact, 2 former inspectors general of police were there, and one of the points they were accentuating upon was the need and imperative for cohesion, operational cohesion. So I can't sit here and say they've gotten to where we want them to be.
But there are pressures on the Nigerian government from outside, from our friends, from our neighbors, to open the borders. Would you subscribe to that?
Yes, we ultimately have to open the border. We don't want to be a country of hermits. It's just that we will open the border subject to those countries respecting the treaty that we have all signed together for the good of our peoples, not only Nigeria. What Nigeria is doing now is good for Benin Republic. How come the Nigerian borders are closed and Benin is signing a $350 million trade agreement on rice with Japan?
We have to leave.
Okay. Someone said that the border closure is originally for economic reasons, which is positively yielding security benefits. How can we extend this closure to medical tourism among our Nigerians as
very necessary
state of health in Nigeria?
To reduce the cost of governance, especially for those who travel and all their medical bills are picked up. But